This is what I need to start the show with. The Mets cannot lose the battle for Yoshinobu Yamamoto. They have to sign him. Now, I understand that this is not just the Mets versus the Yankees, but think about this for a second. Well, you could, bring in Boston or maybe the Dodgers, whoever may be interested in Yamamoto. The guy's a great pitcher. The top free agent pitcher coming over from Japan, on the market this year. He's going to be the top free agent starter that teams are going to want if they could afford him and if he's going to want to go there. He's going to be posted probably, if not today, maybe by tomorrow. Andy Martino of SNY reported he's going to be posted any day now, which means once he does get posted, there are a 45-day window to discuss contract. And he's going to have his pick of teams, and then those teams are going to have to battle for his services. Now, you can say that he may want to go elsewhere, but there's already been reports out there, again by Andy, that he has a thing for the pinstripes. The Mets are all in on Yamamoto. There hasn't been a player that has been desired, been sought after by both the Yankees and the current Mets, meaning Steve Cohen owned Mets, since Steve Cohen took over. This is the guy. This is the first player that both these teams will be going after. And Steve Cohen cannot lose it. Now, the big problem is that he may not have control. He's got the most money. Do I doubt that there will be the highest offer from the Mets? No, I don't. I think the Mets and Steve Cohen are going to have the best offer for Yamamoto. Doesn't mean they're going to get him. And it doesn't matter it doesn't matter how you get there. What matters is the result. Even though it may not be Steve Cohen's fault to not be able to land Yamamoto if he wants to go to play for the pinstripes or this or that, wants to go play in Boston because of his buddy that's there, whatever. Doesn't matter. Mets cannot come away here empty-handed because they're not in on Juan Soto, at least not to be trade, as far as the trade goes for Juan Soto, potentially if he hits free agency next offseason, that's a different story. The Mets don't believe that they're going to be able to land Shohei Ohtani, which means the next biggest star, the guy they need the most because they need an ace starting pitcher. They traded away Scherzer, they traded away Verlander. They got no pitching. They need pitching, and specifically an ace. The Yankees don't need an ace. They have the Cy Young Award winner in the American League with Garrett Cole. The Mets need Yamamoto. They cannot miss out. Not for any excuse. Because even if Cohen offers the most money and Yamamoto chooses the Yankees or the Red Sox or somebody else, that's a loss for the Mets. And it's a loss in an area where they should not be losing in free agency. Now, a lot of this predates Steve Cohen. There's nothing he could do about the mismatched history of the Yankees and Mets. Some guys want to play for the pinstripes. Now, remember, the big thing used to be, well, yeah, I want to be a Yankee and I want the prestige and play for the pinstripes. But the Yankees also used to spend the most money. That is not the case anymore. So does Yamamoto really want the pinstripes? Or is it a thought that, yeah, the Yankees are prestigious, but we ultimately want the most money? That's what it's going to come down to, because while the Yankees are still the winningest franchise and the most prestige and the pinstripes and all that, they cannot compete with Steve Cohen's money. Or maybe they could compete. They are not willing to compete with Steve Cohen's money and budget. They have restrictions. They've talked about it. Whether it's in season last year, whether it's this offseason, while there may be smoke, with the Yankees. Oh, they're interested in this guy and that guy. And yeah, but to what extent? Like, they wanted Luis Castillo a couple years ago. They didn't get him. They didn't get him at the trade deadline because they weren't willing to give the price that the Reds wanted, that the Mariners gave. So they may want Yamamoto, but at what price? And then is the difference going to be significant enough or insignificant enough to have Yamamoto choose the Yankees versus the Mets? Does he want New York? Does he want the most money? Does he want the pinstripes? Will the difference in the Mets salary versus the Yankees salary, or the Yankees offer versus the Mets offer, will that be enough to convince him to go to the Mets, or enough to say, you know what? I'd rather go to the Yankees if it's only a, $10 million difference, whatever it may be. But this is a battle, head-to-head, the first one, bigger than any Subway Series regular season matchup. This is the first head-to-head battle that the Mets with Steve Cohen, the AC Mets after Cohen, that they will have with the New York Yankees. The big, bad pinstripes, the greatest franchise in the history of sports, the can do no wrong New York Yankees. Everybody wants to play in pinstripes. Everybody wants to be a Yankee. Is it going to be about that, or is it going to be about the money? It used to be both. Being a Yankee meant you were getting the most money. Now that's not the case. Now you know that the Mets, if nowhere else, they have the advantage with the pocketbook. Steve Cohen is going to open it up for Yamamoto. He will go all in on Yamamoto. The Mets need him, and they cannot lose out to the Yankees, specifically to the Yankees. But in general, they cannot lose out on a player that is a free agent that they want badly. That should never happen with Steve Cohen. Could happen before. It should never happen with Steve Cohen. Not anymore. And it's so rare to have players like this available, whether it's Soto, Ohtani, Yamamoto. When Yankees have gotten these guys for years. And they've had success with it. If things are truly going to change the way that I believe they are in this town, where the Mets start to take it back the way they did in the 80s, with Steve Cohen flexing his financial muscle, this has to be a win for the New York Mets. They have to get Yamamoto. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. We are just getting started in the offseason here. This is going to be a mega offseason in New York. Both teams coming off of tremendously disappointing seasons. Both teams rumored to be in on some of the key guys. Yankees with Soto and Yamamoto. Mets certainly with Yamamoto. Were interested in Ohtani, although it seems like he's not going to give the Mets a look. We'll see how that whole thing plays out. But these two franchises, at least talking a big game for now. And we're going to find out results about who ends up with who. Like, if Soto gets traded and doesn't come to the Yankees, that's a problem. But before we even get to that, it starts with Yamamoto, because that is going to be a window once he's posted, which we expect to happen soon based on the reports. There's a window here. Will he choose the Mets? Will he choose the Yankees? Will he spur New York altogether? Follow the money. Frank is calling from White Plains. What's up, Frank?
Hey, Sal, thank you very much for taking my call. And I always listen all my life. Nighttime, I used to talk to you. But, Sal, you know something? Is the money is not all the time, issue, to be honest with you. You know something? New York Mets, and I'm a Mets fan, okay? And I'm not Yankee hater. I watch baseball. I love the sports, okay? But the thing is about the Mets, still they run a little bit like Bullpens. They used to run the team. Why the hell they fired Buck Showalter and they bring
move on, Frankie. Move on. Let it go. Buck isn't here anymore. Yeah. Move on. They got a new manager. Okay. Mendy is the man. Now, I want you to focus on Yamamoto. Focus on having the Mets. Hold on. The Mets have the richest owner in the sport. Focus on that. Time to go spend some of that money.
Yes, but let me explain something to you, Sal. I usually travel a little bit here and there. I travel a lot otherwise. I went to Europe this year. You know, first thing what they asked me, are you a Yankees and Knickerbockers fan? They know this. Some people, they want to play for the Yankees.
Correct.
Because they have a pride for the team. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do understand. I do understand that, Frank, and thank you for the call. We do appreciate you listening and your loyal support. I do understand that. It's got to change. And that's why I say it's imperative the Mets win this battle, because this is the type of move that not only would help the Mets on the field this year, not only do the Mets need Yamamoto, not only would it be a win over the Yankees, this is a type of move that can change the Mets' perception elsewhere, not just here in New York. It could be the beginning of somebody coming to them. Now, they're going to have to pay the Mets tax. Because if Yamamoto wants to be a Yankee because of the pinstripes and because the Yankees are a worldwide known brand, well, at some point, the Mets got to change that. And it's more than just Super Bowl commercials. Obviously, it's about winning, but it's also about bringing in the best players. and then bringing attention. If the Mets get a quality, if they get this is not Kaz Matsui or Yoshi Shinjo. This is a mega star coming over from Japan. The Yankees usually get the mega stars. Tanaka and Matsui. The Yankees get the big-time players. Obviously, Ichiro goes to Seattle, but generally the Yankees have had those guys. And generally the Yankees get those guys not just because they want to play for the prestigious and almighty New York Yankees. Generally, it's because of what? The money. The Yankees not only had the prestige, they had the pocketbooks. Well, now the Mets have the hammer when it comes to the cash. And they just need to do whatever it takes. I know it's going to be an overpay, and maybe they do too. But this one will be the most important one. Land Yamamoto. And that sets things up years down the road. Let's just paint the picture here because I don't know if you guys know this about me. I'm a positive guy. I think positively all the time. No negativity around here. Everything's great. So let's project a future in where there's great success for the New York Mets. Let's just say, hypothetically, they overpay to get Yamamoto. They offer $50 million more than the next team, including the Yankees. He says, you know what? Screw the pinstripes. I like the green. And he takes the money. And then Yamamoto goes out there and pitches like an ace the next 5 years. And the Mets in the next offseason, after this year, they get to the playoffs this year but fall short of the World Series. Then they really go for it the following year. And then they really start to click. And let's just say the Mets get to or win a World Series or two over the next 5 years. How do you think that will look 10 years, 15 years down the road? This is where it starts. This is how you change the perception of what this franchise was BC, before Cohen, to what it is now with Steve Cohen. It starts with a move like this. They cannot lose this one. The Chief is calling from Cherry Hill. What's up, Chief?
I'm doing wonderful, Sal. How are you today?
How are you?
Listen, I'm a Yankees fan, and of course I would love Yamamoto. And, now that you're talking about it, of course I would love it also just to stick it to the Mets fans. But I think Steve Cohen is going to go out there and get him. I really believe so. I don't believe that Brian Cashman is going to be trying as much as Steve Cohen and the Mets. They need Yamamoto. Brian Cashman, he believes that he has his pitchers and the Yankees could, get a guy like Clark Schmidt or Michael King going. I'm not saying they're in the same class as Yamamoto, but he believes that they're okay with the starting pitching. I think it's all smoke. What they really need, as we all know, is hitters. And bringing in another pitcher is like bringing in Carlos Rodon from last year.
Well, let's say
it doesn't solve the hitting.
Agreed, but let's paint this scenario. What if the Yankees trade some of that young pitching for Juan Soto and then go out there and sign Yamamoto? You're not going to be okay with that?
I'll be okay with that, but what if they don't pull off that trade by the time he gets posted? If he gets posted before they make a trade, and they don't know that they have that lefty, they don't have a hitter, well, they can't go get him. Because then you're spending all your money on a pitcher without having a hitter.
Okay, so there's two different layers to this, Chief, and thank you for the call. For the Mets, for me, it's Yamamoto or bust this offseason. Now, obviously, the Mets need more than just Yamamoto, but I just laid out all the reasons why they desperately need him specifically now. To get him to change the perception of this team, not only on the field, but obviously off of it as well. The marketing, all that stuff. Beat the Yankees in a battle for a free agent. When does that happen? That's why they need him. For the Yankees, their offseason, to me, hinges on Juan Soto. If Juan Soto becomes available and he does get traded, and it's not to the Yankees, that's a problem. Because they need to do whatever it takes to be able to get him. But here's why the Yankees are in, at least in my opinion, and look, I don't have any sources. I mean, I do pay attention to what guys are saying, and I will say this, and it's not just because I'm the host of the show, but I was doing hosting Baseball Night in New York on SNY. We do it every night at 6 o'clock. And while the show was taking place yesterday, I'm sitting there thinking, damn, the show is second to none. If you care about baseball in this town and you want information and educated opinion and some entertainment, that's where I come in. But you got former players, you got known reporters. There is Baseball Night in New York on SNY is second to none as far as baseball information. So I sit back and listen to what the people who know what they're talking about say. And if you take that information and use common sense, this is what I come up with. The Yankees are in on Yamamoto, but only because Yamamoto wants to be a member of the Pinstripes. I don't believe the Yankees are in to the level where the Mets are, meaning they're all in to get him and are going to overpay or really extend a tremendous offer. I think the Yankees are like, okay, well, we'll give you a solid offer, but because you want to be a Yankee, right? You want to come to us. I don't believe it's like balls to the wall, we're all in, we're getting this guy, the way the Yankees used to operate. They're hoping to get him at a little bit of a discount because they're the Yankees, where the Mets are going to have to pay a tax to get him, which is fine because they have the richest owner in sport. And they have to do it now, but in 5-10 years, if the Mets could land Yamamoto and if they could have the success I think they could have with Steve Cohen and now Stearns taking over, people will be coming, they'll want to come to the Mets. The Mets will be the it team. Mike is calling from Massapequa. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Sal, how are you? Happy holidays, man.
You too, Mike. How are you?
Sal, I'm a diehard Met fan. I called the show a lot of years. I think I really agree with this opening monologue, maybe more than any in a long time. The Mets must have Yamamoto. From the Mets' perspective, I don't think it's as much, and I know Yamamoto wants to be a set pinstripes, but that could be a negotiation thing where, he knows the Mets will pay the most, so in order to get some kind of, thing going back and forth, I want to go to the Yankees. But from the Mets fan point of view, I don't know that I care about perception of beating the Yankees. I care about making this team better. And I think Cohen has balls. I think firing Buck was the right move. I think there's no more room for the New York Mets to wait out a lousy season for someone that's underperformed. I don't care who they are. I don't care that Mendoza doesn't have a ton of experience. He gets a year. If he does great, he gets another year. If he doesn't, he's out. I think the Mets have to stop allowing players or managers or anybody that doesn't get the job done to continue with this organization.
Yeah, but one year in, 1 year out, you can't you can't just judge somebody based on 1 year. Now, I'm not opposed to having. Look, they got rid of Buck after 2 years, so I don't think the Mets are sitting around and accepting less than Mike. And thank you for the call. They're not. They're going to be holding everybody to the highest of standards, and that's why I believe in them. Here's why the perception matters and beating the Yankees matters. And I know what you're saying. This is not just a Mets fan versus Yankee fan thing. Ha ha, we got the guy you wanted. It's much, much, much bigger than that. The exact reason why the Mets are up against it in regards to signing Yamamoto is because of the Yankees' prestige and history and the power of the pinstripes. That is what the Mets need to change. This was a Mets town. In the 80s, it was a Mets town. I understand the Yankees have the greatest history, and no one could compete with that. But you ask somebody who was around here in the 80s, which was the team in town. There was no doubt about it. It was the New York Mets. Now, we are 40 years removed from that. But it has to start somewhere. And the perception is important because if Yamamoto comes here to the Mets and has success, and they have team success, and Steve Cohen continues to invest his billions into this team, they can overtake the Yankees in this town. They can become a nationally known team to where the next time a player from Japan of Yamamoto's caliber gets posted, he may say, I want to play for Steve Cohen's Mets. That may be 5, 10, 15 years down the road, but this is where it starts. This is bigger than just the on-field right now this year. Mets can't lose this one. You could lose to the Yankees in the regular season. You can lose out. The Yankees are going to get their stars that they get. It's not just about the Mets versus the Yankees. But in this particular case, they have to have Yamamoto. And they can't lose him when they have more money to give than the Yankees, and they're willing to give more money than the Yankees. They can't lose him to the Yankees. 877-337-6666. Brandon Tierney, Salicata on the Fan. BT is off, so it's just me riding solo to 2 p.m.